Shift our focus now. Bajaj Auto reports on an inline set of Q4. Profit and revenue both rises 6% on year-on-year basis. In fact, the company reports profit at 2,049 crore and revenue at 12,148 crore. My colleague Shrishti is here with the number crunching. Shrishti, good evening. Over to you.
Well, I would call it an inline set coming in from Bajaj Auto. Just a marginal uptick versus the estimate is what we have seen. But the good part is that the margins have been held steady at 20.2% in line to what we were expecting. The company does say that the steady margins were led by dynamic price and the cost management, improved dollar realization, and operating leverage. When we look at the revenue on a YoY basis, it has seen a jump of 6%. The profit also saw a similar growth number at 2,049 crores is what the company reported, and EBITDA was seen at 2,450 crores. In terms of the export volumes, like we have been highlighting, that did very well, and in FY25 the exports revenue was very close to the record high levels of FY22, just shy away of that $100 million mark is what the company has highlighted. But along with that, in Q4, the company did miss the double digit growth due to the temporary suspension of KTM exports, is what they have highlighted. And KTM as a segment did overall impact their sales in the export market as well. But along with that, the KTM Triumph Duo sold almost 1 lakh of units domestically in FY25 was the another update that the company has shared. So all in all, what we see that the numbers have come in line to what we were expecting, and ET now, and especially the margin number.
All right, thanks, Shrishti. But let me also go across to Devin Choksi, Managing Director, DR Choksi FinServ. Thank you very much, Devin, for taking the time out and joining us here on ET Now this evening. How do you look at these numbers?
Yeah, good evening. Well, on the face of it, I think the numbers are pretty much in line with expectation. EBITDA is slightly above expectation. And I'm not completely surprised though, because I think the favorable currency in the fourth quarter particularly, I think has definitely helped the company in getting slightly better than expected numbers as far as the exports concerned. And most of the exports, I think, are the value-added products, I think, which they have been able to secure. So to a greater extent, I think that is a positive point as I see. There have been some amount of challenges in the overseas market in this particular quarter, but the realization is importantly, I think, very some as I see it. I think, of course, I think I need to look at the details, but this is expected that I think the realization has definitely been better comparatively. And I think the commentary one wants to hear from the company is about the electric vehicle portfolio, which is growing, and I think they are in profits. So that's something which I think one would like to listen from the company hereafter.
Even as you pointed out, does the 6% top line growth signal plateauing demand or a stable base for recovery in your opinion?
It's not plateauing of demand. I think the overall market growth itself, I think, is around this level. But more importantly, 125 plus cc vehicle, which the company has been able to sell in the domestic market, I think has generated better margins. The important part to observe is that I think they continue to clock 20% plus EBITDA margin. That is important. And that is where probably I think you are seeing the importance of product mix. The product mix, particularly leaning towards the higher cc motorcycles, definitely I think is working well. And once, as I was alluding to it, I think electric vehicles, particularly four-wheelers, the numbers would reveal probably how exactly they have generated sales and profits out of it. But that is expected to be relatively better as I see it.
Devin, before I let you go, with 15-20% quarterly export growth guided, do you see exports becoming Bajaj's core earnings driver in financial year 2026?
It is even in 25 also. I think export is significantly large portion of earnings, and I guess I think that is going to be true for the 26 as well. Largely because I think more than 70 countries in which they are exporting, and at the same time, if the environment remains conducive, the realization is expected to be better in the most of the export products. Plus, all the three brands, the value-added brands that they have, the KTM, the Triumph, and Husqvarna, each of these brands are also having a large say as far as I think the global market is concerned. So yes, I guess I think they should be reporting better numbers than export front as well in 26.
So safe to say that you believe that the momentum will continue in the upcoming financial year as well. But thank you very much for taking the time out and sharing with us your perspective. But we'll leave the conversation at that. But before we wrap up, let's also tell you how markets showed signs of resilience today as the Nifty snapped two-session losing streak, closing above the 24,800 mark. And it was mainly led by IndusInd Bank and Sun Pharma. In fact, the small cap index extended its winning run for the fifth straight session, while mid cap also ended positive. Sectorally speaking, Nifty Metal emerged as the top sectoral gainer, rebounding with Jindal Steel and Hindustan Zinc in focus. Realty, in fact, surged over 1%, hitting a 3-month high intraday. Pharma, IT, auto and bank indices all saw fresh buying, while PSU Bank slipped after a strong 4-day rally. Now, the FMCG sector continued to drag down for a third session. All right, and with that, that's all I have for you in this edition of Rush Hour. Thank you very much for watching.